So what's important?
Where are we?
We are at the southbound exit.
I-80. That's right.
I-80, yeah, Berkeley. I-80 southbound University Avenue exit in Berkeley, California. That's where we're at.
Cool. And how did this idea come about?
Where do we go?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it, about a month or so ago?
A month ago, yeah.
CalTrans was over here pushing us up, all out of camp over here. Berkeley PD was right there pushing us back over. Parks Police were pushing us off the bike path. And this one here shows up with OSHA.
OSHA Newman, yeah.
And one thing all of us kept saying is, what are we to do? Where are we supposed to go? Where do we go?
Yeah, that's what they said.
It was one of the few things we could all agree on out here. It's like, okay, it's bogus. Where are we supposed to go? What?
Because they were going to get cited, so if you're on this land that we're on, it's a misdemeanor. If you step onto the sidewalk, Berkeley PD was there to cite them.
Arrest us.
And so we, because of the sidewalk ordinance, so literally it was a simultaneous eviction.
Yeah.
So wherever you went, you were going to. So I talked to the police officer and I said, because they had all of their stuff on the sidewalk, where do they go? They don't want to be arrested. They want to abide by the law. And so we talked about it. Yeah, left alone. And we talked. They don't have cars. They don't have moving trucks. Their things were getting thrown into the trash compactor
In front of us.
in front of them. Yep.
So they're causing dumping, blaming it on you.
Yes.
Yes. And so then we negotiated with the police officer to get them a 2-foot wide strip of grass.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't get cited or bothered if they put their stuff there. So everyone put their stuff on that strip of grass.
There's enough room for the city bus.
Yeah.
We're trying to leave enough room for the bus by the bus stop.
And then I ran. Go ahead.
That didn't work too well, so I don't know. I think they detoured buses or something for a minute.
So then I ran down to Civic Center, which is City Hall. And I went in and I said, because I told them all, I said, we have this little tiny piece of land of grass. I'm gonna find out where we can go. And so I went down to City Hall and I met with Cheryl Davila, the city manager, and some other folks. And I said, they need to know where to go. And then from there, that next Tuesday, Shauna was there. We went. Shauna made signs for everybody.
Big old signs.
And we went to city council and we said, where do we go? We don't know where to go.
Stirred up city council and all.
Yeah, and then they kept coming back for 3 weeks. And then Jupiter and Pixie were killed. They were evicted.
By the track.
That day they were evicted. It was so hot, and they tore down the tents, and everyone was out in the sun.
Yeah, like heat stroke.
It was terrible. And that night, the two of them, which were both residents of these 2 encampments, were killed by the Amtrak trains. And that very next day, there was an eviction where Pixie was a resident at camping.
Yeah, and he's one of the ones that.
And so everyone was grieving and having to move their stuff. And then a week later, 3 women, Pixie's girlfriend, and Mama Bear and Casey, who are disabled, they refused to move when CalTrans came. And so they were not arrested. They said, we're not moving. And they didn't pack up their stuff. And so now we're here, and this is what we're asking. Where do we go?
Yeah, I'm not planning on moving. I got 3 dogs. Large dogs. That people of the general public tend to be afraid of for some stupid reason. Because they're ignorant.
So this week, last week, CalTrans posted notice for another eviction.
Sometime between Monday and Friday of this week. Yes. Between 7 a.m. and blah, blah, blah p.m.
And so I pitched my tent today. I'm housed, but I'm here in solidarity. I'm an activist, and I've been with them. I gave them my word that we're going to find out where we're going to go. And so that's why I haven't left, and I'm not going to ask them to risk something that I'm not going to risk. So I came out here and put my tent. If CalTrans comes, I'm not moving. Several people here are not moving.
We're standing together on this.
Yeah, this is a movement led by residents.
I mean, we may not be a traditional neighborhood, but we are still a neighborhood, if you think about it.
Right. And so part of this is not only having a lawful place to be, but also having porta potties and trash picked up and water. But right now,
trash removal.
We need to stop being moved.
Yeah.
Because they've lost, and I was here, I witnessed it, they've lost their containers, their beds. Like Casey downstairs who refused to move, she cannot walk. She's sleeping under a boat sail because they threw her tent away. They threw her mattress away. She's a senior citizen. She's sleeping on a metal frame because they threw her bed out. She moved 7 times in 3 weeks. I went with her to housing. The lists for housing are 3 to 5 years long.
It's atrocious.
So we need to be left, they need to be left in place because they lose more and it creates more havoc in their lives because they lose their containers to keep the food.
Our animals' food.
Animals' food, everything is disrupted and it's really ridiculous because
shelter systems across this country are a fucking joke.
Right, and they know, the thing is that the city officials and everyone knows that they're going to move back. So literally, they're moving people, throwing their stuff away, giving them less shelter,
less
blankets, less everything. But then, at the end of the day, they know everyone is moving right back. So you literally strip them of any of the protections, basic necessities, their water, their IDs get taken, everything that they're using to survive, the little tiny bit they have. And so I'm out here demanding dignity and human rights. Water, basic
fucked
water.
Up about this whole situation?
Go ahead.
I lost my wallet with my ID in it. It had my old man's ID and social security card. We had one wallet between the two of us. I got approved for food stamps, general assistance, and Medi-Cal without my ID getting brought into the office within 10 days. I lost all that.
And after the evictions, I had someone else, and she's very, very disabled. She can barely leave her tent. And I found her in the heat on the side of the road on a mattress. She called me the next day because they threw out her EBT card. She's severely disabled. She had no food, and we're out in the middle of nowhere. No access to anything. And we had to bring food out here and water because all of that was taken in the CalTrans eviction. But the thing is, everyone is still here. So what we're demanding is that CalTrans clean around people because they don't pick up, right? They don't have to move. We're in a state of emergency.
Dispose of our bags of garbage.
Right, come pick up the garbage.
You know, I mean.
And porta potty, just basic things.
You know?
If there's no room and there's no, and, you know, and people are surviving, so they're going to have things like ice chests because if you don't, food spoils.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't have water, or you have to go to the bathroom, or sleep, or light, or a shelf, or anything, right? Carts you have to go wash your clothes. And there's all of these things that I don't think people are looking at realistically in terms of what it takes for a human being
to survive.
And so that's what we're demanding. It's just, where do we go? And so many people get angry and they look around and they say, oh, well, you know, that campsite looks terrible. Well, you don't have trash removal, and you don't have doors, and you don't have, tents are expensive.
Yeah.
And when you take the tents, what are people going to use? Whatever they need shelter. There are all kinds of things out here, and predators, and all sorts of things. Rats.
Think of it this way. You get told that you get to keep everything you own and your pets. But, big but, you have to give up your home and your vehicle. How are you gonna live? What are you gonna do? Shelter systems are a joke. You can go in pretty much with the clothes on your backs. They feed you stuff that's not even fit to feed dogs or pigs. Believe me, I've been in homeless shelters across this country. I feel safer in a tent than I do in a homeless shelter. You get eaten alive by bed bugs. People get sexually assaulted in homeless shelters. I have 3 exes that beat me and raped me. You think I want to go into a goddamn homeless shelter and have that shit happen to me there? I'm safer out here in my tent. And
I had even the CHP, because as an activist and an advocate, I come out during the evictions and we try to negotiate, right? Because everyone is just trying to live, and it's not something where it's not about deserving, it's about need, right? And you even talk to the police officers or the CHP, and when you talk to them, they realize what's happening. And they'll say, you know, there was a woman who became homeless, and they know that she's been raped 17 times. 17 times.
yeah,
So-
unacceptable.
So we're just demanding like bathrooms. I mean, it's hard enough to be out here, even me coming and pitching my tent, having to drag I have a car. I know that I'm privileged. There's no way I could have brought my tent, my ice chest, and everything if I didn't have a car. There's no way. And so to come and just strip people of that who don't even have cars or phones, or like they told me, the police said, well, it would be great if they had a moving truck. Really? It would be great if they have a moving truck, but instead when you're homeless, the only moving truck you have is a garbage truck. That's what they give you. They don't give you a U-Haul. They'll bring the garbage truck and throw all your stuff away.
They
But
will
there's Susie
bulldoze your
Swan, so you
home.
have to introduce them because
They will
they're...
bulldoze your home
Yes.
with you watching them, begging them
Thank you.
not to take your home, not to take your neighbor's home, who happens to be your friend.
Yeah, so it's
That does so.
So we're here. Where do we go?
Tell me this though. You mentioned a lot about some people coming out. What about services? Is any health services, mental health?
No!
Only law enforcement.
Only law enforcement. No medical services, no mental health services,
Nope.
none of it.
No homeless service provider nonprofits. that
Minimal.
come by?
No, they'll come out and they might afterwards, or actually the first day of the coordinated evictions. One person came from the city manager's office and offered very few vouchers only to people who were camped on City of Berkeley property, which was a sliver. Everyone else did not get a voucher. And I was here, I go to evictions, I help, and what I've seen across the board is that the services are failing and there's absolutely no oversight. Berkeley, I believe, spent $22 million on homeless services, and I go out and I talk to people, and everyone talks about how
We don't want
no one
much.
follows up, the caseworkers don't follow up. Right? No one's ever out here.
Right.
Ocean Newman, I see him because I'm always with him. And he's a homeless attorney. I took the bar in July. But, and this is the type of work that I'm going to do, civil rights law, helping the most vulnerable. And so when I'm out, I ask people who comes. No, and that's where I go to city council and I say, who's supposed to be out here? Because I don't do social services, but inevitably the people that you meet need these social services. I even called the new crisis line here in Berkeley.
Oh, there's a crisis line?
There's a crisis line, and I called them.
Does a lot of good when you don't have a telephone.
Well, and they do them during business hours, so you can only have a mental health crisis between like 10 and 5.
Yeah,
But I
right.
called.
Wow.
But I called because this guy, when CalTrans came out, he was burning his stuff up because he thought that CalTrans was going to take it, and that by burning it, it would come back to him. So I called the crisis line and I said, you know, he needs someone to come and talk to him.
Now.
He doesn't need the police. And they said, well, we can't do that. I said, well, who can help me? Can the hot team help me here? Who can help me? A crisis, someone. No one can help you. They said, here's BPD non-emergency number. That's who you call.
Yeah.
Oh, so I just paid. So the city just paid for me. I could have called BPD non-emergency myself. So I haven't seen services, and I really hope that the city, you know, a lot of our taxpayers' money goes into these services, and we expect some sort of result, some sort of follow-up, and there just isn't. And there's no auditing, there's no ombudsman, there's no way that people can complain, and these are the most vulnerable. They don't want to complain. They're worried they'll lose their services if they complain, right? And there's no one they can go to ask for oversight. If a worker places them in I've seen that where they'll place people in the most inhumane living situations and pay a $1,500 a month subsidy, and that person has no recourse to say, you know what, I've been placed in a room with no water, no bathroom, in a garage, minimal everything, and they can't complain. And that's what we're seeing. That's what I'm seeing on a day, not just here, but across Berkeley when I go out. I'm seeing it everywhere. And so that's why I gave my word that day that we were going to find out. Where do we go? I'm going to find out. And so we've all joined together, and now I have my tent out here. And
I think Fixie and Jupiter kind of brought everyone out here together.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Fixie and Jupiter.
They were the first thing the camp could agree on, that their deaths were 100% CalTrans fault.
It was hot that day.
That was the very first thing
so
this
hot.
camp agreed on.
They created a
Very first
danger.
thing.
Week after
Fixie
week,
and Jupiter,
and I went and saw
ironically
Fixie.
enough.
Yeah, the day before, he was tired. I talked to him because the San Francisco Chronicle did an article, and it was on the front page, and I came out, and I brought copies to you all, and I ran out, and I saw Fixie, and he said, I'm so tired. And I go, they did this article, and then the next day, Jupiter called me because BPD was here, and I
my old man brought Jupiter her card because he knew Jupiter had a phone, and there was a chance that his phone might be charged.
And Jupiter is one of the only people out here with the phone, and now he's gone. That says a lot. There's very few people. These two encampments are
He was a very, very entertaining neighbor.
He was awesome.
He was such an entertaining neighbor, you know. I mean.
And the last time I saw him, he was in the heat. Everyone was by the park sign. There's no cover, and it was so hot. And like even after that, when I came out with ice and water, it was so hot because of all these evictions. Nobody has an ice chest. They can't even have like storage. I mean, before they did, remember, everybody had stuff and everything was organized, but they took everything. So it's very inhumane.
Yeah, and every time, when they're coming every week and telling us we have to move, it takes.
I say you need to be.
It takes more than a week to reorganize your entire life.
And how much money does that cost, right? $400 or $500 bucks.
Well, that's why nobody has, you know, after that, people are laying on 100 tarps. They don't have beds.
And what's the psychological toll?
Oh yeah, the psychological
I suffer
toll.
from untreated clinical depression and anxiety issues because my damn wallet came up missing and I lost my benefits before I got them due to lack of ID. And I can't afford the medication I am supposed to be on, which is why I smoke so much damn pot.
Which happened recently too in the eviction. A lot of medicine is taken. So a lot of folks here who have lupus and chronic. Jessica's here. I'm sorry. I just say hi to Jessica. Oh, isn't it awesome? Yes, I want to see it. Aren't they cool? That's awesome. I know. Did you see it from the freeway?
Yes, the footprint.
Oh, you can see it from the footprint.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh my God. The issues are so dire. Like none of the services are dead.
Right, and that's what I would demand is say you can't evict me without signing me up for services.
Yeah.
Because first and foremost, you should know who I am.
They'll just give everybody one voucher, and if you don't show up that night,
You
you
lose
lose your
it.
bed. And it's ridiculous because
Yes, it's absurd.
yeah.
My name is Susie,
My name is Twan.
and we are currently standing at the University Avenue northbound off-ramp for I-80 in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we are here because there is a community that is threatened yet again with eviction from lands that is barely livable to begin with, because there is no other place for them to go. And they have an incredible message that they want to get out, which is, where do we go? It's a question to point towards the government, towards people, towards the community. Why is there no place for people to go?
Yeah, for me, I feel that it doesn't make sense to continue to evict people when they have nowhere to go. The city of Berkeley doesn't have the sources, doesn't have enough space in the shelter to house people, provide a space for people to even rest. So to continue to evict people using a lot of money doing it. The money could have been spent on housing people, even for a couple of days. That's still something than using the funds to evict people. And that's why we're here, to ask the question, where do we go? We meaning not just the homeless, because any one of us could be homeless. There are a lot of people that are on the verge of getting evicted for whatever reason. So that's why the message or the question is, where do we go? Not where do they go? So not just the homeless. We all can be homeless one day. So where do we go? I'm not sure how many people here, but I know there's enough people here that we should support. I mean, it doesn't require like a large amount of people for us to support. It just takes like one homeless person to support. I mean, yeah.
Well, there is another camp that has been run for the last almost 3 years by a group called First They Came for the Homeless. And back in, it was December of 2016, they were being bounced around all over Berkeley before they had settled where they are now. And I saw a sign that was in pink letters, really big pink letters, written on a piece of plywood that said, "Come say hi." And they had candles. And I do a lot of shadow theater, and so I instantly got this inspiration that a tent is a perfect shadow theater set. And I was so warmed by these signs because it just was so friendly and humanizing and welcoming. I mean, people don't have signs that say, "Come say hi" in their yards, you know? I mean, it was just like, it just warmed my heart. And so I went and I met people, and there was this instant connection, and I felt so inspired by what they were doing and what they continue to do. And yeah, and so that was where it started. And then we started gathering once a month as a group. I would come and we would meet at the camp or at the Long Hall, which is in Berkeley Community Center, and come up with themes to do the shadow scenes. And it just went from there. Every month we did something different, and then we started doing full-scale shadow puppet shows, and we did some fundraisers, and then it's happened in other places in Oakland, and yeah, it's just gone from there. So I found out that this amazing campaign was happening, and Andrea was so welcoming. She even posted her phone number on Facebook so that I knew how to get in touch with her. So I was able to. Yeah. So I was, well, fortunately I got your number before they took it down. And hopefully some other people did too who want to help out. So yeah, so it's really inspiring, and yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say, or?
Well, I think I explained the reason I'm here for supporting the rights of homeless, because any one of us could be homeless. I just feel that people don't really take part in actions like this until they experience it themselves, until they experience some empathy, or if they have their close one or their family member experience homelessness, and then they take part. I feel that we should try to put ourselves in other people's shoes so we can get some empathy, or try to learn some empathy so we can take part in actions like this more.
But I have been impressed with the Here There camp, which is the First They Came for the Homeless camp, because there's a lot of people there who don't want to participate in the system, and they stand for that. I don't want to speak for you, but that's something that I've been impressed by, is that they want to show that there's another way to do it, and that you don't have to. You can get in the system by holding the system accountable, also for something that criminal that they're doing, as opposed to saying I'm gonna run through your rat race and go get SSI, go do this and do the ID and all that, which is so hard. It's like a professional job, you know, to be able to do that. Like, it takes so much energy and work just to be able to do that. I don't know. I just wanted to say that because I have noticed that they don't always, that there's other options, and they have opened my eyes to that. Like, for example, another thing that I've been really inspired by what you guys have done. I hope it's okay I'm saying you guys. Juan lives at the Here There camp. Is that you try to resolve conflicts without bringing in the police, and I think that's amazing. It's something that you know, people house people all the time. I'm gonna call the cops, man. I'm gonna call the cops. You know, it's like they're something that we keep in our back pocket instead of trying to resolve our conflicts ourselves as a community and work together as a community. And I think it's really beautiful. I think that what you guys do is incredibly hard, and it's really inspiring. So there's a lot of things that we can do for each other as a community and together that, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. I do believe that, so thank you for sharing. In our community, we try to solve internal conflicts on our own within the camp. And if that doesn't work, we reach out to our supporters and get them involved. But to call the cops on conflicts, it doesn't work that way. And that's all. Yeah. And like, being in conflict, it can be a bad thing, but at the same time, it gives us a opportunity to get together to solve things and share ideas. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Imagine if we had meetings that weren't just city council meetings where there was politics involved, but we had community meetings about things like homelessness. Imagine if we did that, you know? It's hard to imagine, isn't it? It's hard to imagine. Right, not my problem. We call it, I like, somebody said, maybe it was Mike Lee or Mike Zint said it was the leaf blower solution. I think that's very apt.
My name's Will Baird, and we're at the I-80 off-ramp going on to University, where our camp is getting threatened by CalTrans and CHP and all the local authorities as well as county to evict sometime this week. None of us actually know when. They usually come towards the end of the week because they like to play their surprise attack. But pretty much everybody on the island, as far as I know, is not getting up and moving. We're all going to take a stand against them on the risk of going to jail, just because, I mean, I come from Colorado. I'm a mountain boy. When we stand up and fight, we stand up and fight. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And we find ways around certain areas that would be more beneficial than anything else. Like, for example, if the state of California would actually pull their heads out of their rear, and instead of spending money on stuff that is non-beneficial, I mean, look at the roads. The roads suck. Taxpayer monies could be going to better places than pushing around the homeless and making the homeless move. If we had dumpsters, if we had porta-potties, if we had showers and everything else, we'd be able to live just almost up to society standards. But that's the problem, is it's up to society standards. It's not up to our own or up to what people would call cleanliness. Now, my idea for the state of California to do is come up with a land grant. Get about 300 acres. Give all the homeless a place to go. Give them the materials, let them build. Let the homeless show what we are capable of to society. Give us a couple years. I grew up on a ranch. I know how to build a ranch to being able to take care of animals, grow crops, whatever. I'm also an iron worker and heavy equipment operator, but I just recently had all my identification stolen, so nobody's gonna hire somebody that doesn't have any identification or anything else for that matter. So what most of us got into doing was collecting recyclables, plastics and cans mostly, just because that's the only way we can make our money at this point in time. Like my wife, for instance, she just lost out on $336 a month on GA because of our wallet getting stolen. You know, there's a lot of things out here that society doesn't look at. Like, for instance, the 2 guys that were killed by the train. I didn't know that either one of them very well, but from what I did know, Jupiter was one of the funniest guys I ever got the chance of meeting. Good at heart, just somebody, if you're in a pissed off mood, he will end up getting you laughing within the first 5 minutes. Fixie, I never got to really meet. I got to understand that he built racing bikes for extreme racers, and he also was one of the handymen for all the bicycles around Berkeley. I don't know much about what Berkeley's situation is considering programs for homeless. I don't know that much because we haven't been here but probably 3 months. And we spent a month down on Alcatraz where the community camp is. We were sleeping right behind that area because they were scared of dogs. So we got 3 big dogs ranging from 65 to 95 pounds. So we didn't really want to give any of the old timers a heart attack with our dogs. So we slept behind there for about 3 weeks, and then we moved over in this area. Actually, we moved to People's Park and that area for about a week, and then we moved out here about a month and a half ago. And all we've been doing since we got moved out here has been pushed around by either East Bay Parks Police or City PD or Stadies. This is actually when they posted the notice this last week for the evictions this week. It was the first time they actually had a county mountie with them, and so I'm starting to wonder if the Stady Padies are starting to get scared and starting to get worried and starting to get county mounties in instead of the city kitties. They figure they might as well bring in more closer to local law enforcement, which I think is a crock of shit. They just need to stick with their own dang unit or their own dang police departments and stay the hell away from all the homeless, really. Because all they're doing is they're causing enough stress throughout all the homeless camps on all these moves. That's the reason why both guys were killed. They got tired of getting moved. They got tired of dealing with all the bullshit. Now, I don't know the whole story. Only those 2 fellas know what exactly happened. I made it to the accident about 10 minutes after, and I'm not going to explain on local television what I seen other than a cloud of red, and that was it. So I don't know. I know it caused another guy to crash and burn and get road rash, which I was able to patch him up. He was only scraped up and down his arm, so that was no big deal. But you know, with being first aid certified, EMT in the past and paramedic in the past, and being a search and rescue along with forest fires, I feel it to be one of my jobs and my duties to help and try to keep as many people alive as I can. I know that's not humanly possible, but it's something that, well, the people that have phones are the ones that usually have a solar panel. The city PD, they've only stopped by once, and that was when all of us got moved over across the street. And they were literally coming to throw any garbage, anybody's belongings that was on city property. And then they ended up seeing Andrea and OSHA, and they got in their vehicles and hauled ass. As far as county's concerned, that was the first time I've ever seen them show up. We've been messed with by East Bay Parks Police quite a few times, but not on this side. As long as we stay off of the parks property, then we don't get messed with by the Parks Police. It's just state and county now.
But only law enforcement, no other entities.
Nope, just law enforcement and CalTrans are the only two that are our biggest enemy per se at this moment in time. That's all they say. They say you got 45 minutes to pack your stuff, and whatever's left behind goes to the trash. And then they don't even come through and pick up trash. All they do is they come through, tear all of our stuff up, throw it away, and take off. And they'll call it a cleanup to the point that what they'll do is, the last time they came through, they brought a dump truck, three dump trucks and a front end loader. The first dump truck had so much weight in it that it literally was stuck in the sand.